Hey, beautiful souls. It's Alicia with Appalachia Lightworker Paranormal. I hope you're having an amazing day. I wanted to come on and just kind of have a paranormal talk, share a little paranormal story with you guys. And, but first, let me say this. This Friday evening, January 23rd, 2026, I will be joining a public investigation at the Old Historic Harriman Hospital in Harriman, Tennessee. The reason I'm sharing that is because I'm about to tell you a story of the first time I investigated there at the Old Historic Harriman Hospital. Now, I'm not going to use that term the whole time. I'm going to say Harriman Hospital. Um, so just a little backstory on me. I do live in the East Tennessee area now, but I'm from Western North Carolina. My husband and I have traveled in and out of the East Tennessee area for his work for the past 17 years. And the majority of that work is in Roane County, Tennessee, where Harriman is. So I know the Harriman area. I've been in Harriman Hospital before it closed its doors, and it was an actual working hospital because it was a working hospital up until like 2013, 2014. Um, so that being said, I know a lot about Harriman just from getting to know people, hearing things. And so Harriman's interesting and it has a lot of cool history and a lot of interesting history, is what I'll say there. But, and before we start, let me also say this. I have been in the paranormal my whole life. I have seen things, heard things, I know things as an intuitive. But as a paranormal investigator, I have only been doing this for a little over a year. And Harriman Hospital was actually one of the first places that I stepped into as a investigator, um, which I learned a lot from this investigation, and that is why I am sharing it. I think it's very different energy when you just have paranormal experiences versus when you're actually investigating. Um, so, that being said, last spring, me and 6 other people walked into the doors of Harriman Hospital. Now you have to understand, Harriman Hospital was built in 3 different decades. Okay, the first was built in like 1934, I believe, and then another section in 1953, and then another section in 1994. And so you kind of feel that while you're walking through the building. You feel like the different decades within the building. It's that, it was there, it was running for a very long time. And you feel that energy. And in a way, when I was there back last spring, it was very much still felt like a working hospital. But anyways, the 7 of us walked in. There was 5 women, 2 men, 3 different paranormal groups working together, and which I love. I love collaborating. You learn a lot. You meet a lot of really cool people, and that's why I like doing public investigations too. Is because you get to meet a lot of really awesome people, and as long as you're all respecting each other, it's amazing. But anyways, so Harriman is huge. Like it's a huge hospital, right? And for paranormal investigating, it's a large building. Um, Not Waverly big, but it's big. Anyways, we get there, and I looked at my friend who is also an intuitive, and I was like, this is really interesting energy. I think it's going to be a cool night because you almost felt invited when you walked in the doors by the energy, not just by the person that was there to meet us and give us the history on the building and things. Like, you felt invited and it felt very friendly. And so my friend and I were just like, oh, this is going to be interesting. And I have to say this, looking back on it, I remember kind of being kind of putting my guards up in a way a little bit because it was just seemed a little off, but at the same time, I wanted to have a really cool experience. So I kept like pushing off the feeling that something's not right, um, because it gets intense. The evening just kept building and building and building and got extremely intense. And I learned a lot from that investigation. But, anyways, so we get through the history, and four of us ladies in the group kind of paired off and did our thing, and three went another direction. And we were just all kind of doing our own thing with inside. And my friend started to use her dowsing rods and asking questions, and we perceived to have a doctor coming through and talking with us. And like the energy was very flirty, like we were all flirting back with him and kind of asking silly questions, but it was very friendly, jokey energy. And so we went off from the main entrance at the hospital into the ER area, and we were trying to get interaction, and I was sitting in a chair, and we had like a spirit talker going or a spirit box. Somebody was using dowsing rounds. We had like different things going on, and there was this spirit that came across the spirit talker in spirit box and said her name was Sarah. She wanted to give us a warning. Don't go down, she kept saying. Darkness down there, things like that. But then something else would kind of come through and drown her out and be friendly and talking and stuff like that. And I was sitting in like a chair that they would take blood in, and everybody kind of turned around and started walking down. And if you've been in Harriman Hospital when you're in the ER, it kind of goes down and kind of goes down a long hallway. And so everybody was going down, and I was kind of sitting there, and I was like, but why did that girl, Sarah, come through and say, be careful, darkness down there, beware? And I kind of just brushed it off. And we kept going and kept going, and we kept going deeper, deeper, and deeper into the hospital. And Sarah kept coming through, and she kept warning us. But it's like we kind of ignored it. I mean, that's the best way to say it. You're on investigation, and you're just trying to get answers, and you're wanting understanding. And so you just keep going, even with the warnings. And what was interesting is we were in one part of the hospital, and I'm not going to say the name, but I have my husband has a spirit guide that checks in on me. And so her name comes over the spirit box sometimes, and people will be like, oh my goodness, that's a really old name. Like, listen, da da da. And her name came over the spirit box. And at that point, I wish I had gone, why is she here? Why is she checking on me? Because that is one of the first times she did do that. And so now I know why, but I wish I had paid attention to it. The energy was very inviting, very joke. Like I look back now and something was tricking us. Something was tricking us to keep going deeper and deeper into the hospital. So then we went up, we took breaks here or there. We eventually ended up upstairs in like a recovery area after surgery. We had an intense experience there, and where a loud voice came into the room. It freaked us all out. We were doing Estes method at the time. Um, it was an intense experience. So that happened, and we all go back downstairs. Um, but before that, so hold on a minute. Before we went there, when we were touring the kitchen area, you could feel an energy back off in the corner somewhere, and it felt like he was watching you and staring at you, and like it was intense energy. And it made me really uncomfortable. And my friend Rachel, that was with us, she had been to Harriman on a public investigation before that, and she was like, it's the cook in the kitchen. He kind of stands off and kind of makes you feel uncomfortable. And there's a freezer down in the area, the kitchen area where a lot of people do the Estes method. And the lady that was giving us the tour had told us about that, and we were like, "Oh, let's do the Estes method." And I tend to have or I had before this had very intense Estes method sessions with the people I was with. And the guy that was leading our group was like, "Alicia, you've got to do that later." And I was like, "Oh, we'll see, we'll see." And so, anyways, intense energy in the kitchen. I just want to go back to that. So then we kept going into the hospital. We had this intense experience with a voice in the room. And then we all go back and we meet together, all 7 of us together. We're talking about it. This was crazy. And the leader of the group was like, "Well, let's go into the kitchen and do the Estes method." And again, I have learned to listen to my intuition better, and this night taught me that. And I had a gut feeling that I should not go to the kitchen. Like, I heard it in my head, I felt it in my chest, I felt it in my stomach. Do not go. There was a gentleman with us that night that was unable to go down into the kitchen because there's a lot of stairwell down into the kitchen. So he was just going to stay at base camp. He wasn't going to go. And part of me was about to say, "I'm just going to stay with him. You guys go enjoy the energy of the kitchen. I don't think I'm supposed to go down there." I know to do that now. I did not do that night. I did not respect my own boundaries, my own energy. Lesson learned. So we go on down, and my friend Sheila and Rachel were going in front of me, and they saw this big black mass standing in front of them, and they like, "Oh," and jumped back, and then it went on down the stairs. So we all went on down the stairs, and as soon as like I hit the bottom flat of the stairs, I could not breathe. I could not catch my breath. I just felt this wave of this energy just at me and kind of throw me up against the wall. And I was just standing there, and in my head, I saw all these visions of from this energy. I saw what he had done, things that were not good, and I was just seeing it. And I said to my friend, "I have to get out of here." And I ran up the stairs, and I was vomiting. It was just crazy, and I had to end up leaving. I had to leave that night because I saw things that he had done to women that was disgusting, disturbing, and horrible. And I could not be there any longer with that energy. And so we get home, and I was saying to my friends, "I don't understand why we kept going deeper. I don't understand why we didn't listen to the Sarah telling us not to go deeper. It was dark energy. It wasn't good. Why didn't we listen?" And so 3 days, guys, I was off for 3 whole days. I couldn't be by myself. I kept seeing things. I had to do intense energy cleansing and releasing. And um, but that investigation has taught me a lot. Um, I have friends that were on that investigation that I would love a lot, and then there's um, people that I will not work with again because their intentions for that investigation were not healthy. And we're all on our own journey. We're all doing our own healing. Some people are not working on their own healing. Um, I have learned I'm going to be a little bit pickier on who I do private um, investigations with. I've also learned to listen to my spirit team when they tell me, "Do not go, sit, do not go." I'm not going. If I don't feel like I should go anywhere now, I don't go. I don't do it. I don't care what kind of evidence I would find. I'm not doing it. If my intuition, my spirit team tells me don't do it, I don't do it. It's not worth it. So who I'm with, I'm going to listen, and I'm not going to be in competition with anybody anywhere. I have my own gifts and my own ways of doing things. You have your own gifts and your own way of doing things, and I'm going to respect it. And we can work together. No, I'm not trying to outshine anybody, um, and I hope nobody else is trying to outshine anybody else. When we're working together, we're doing it as a team out of love for the spirit world. That is my goal in this. That being said, I think there are tricky spirits. I think spirits that have hurt people in life, and they are scared of moving forward, or maybe they just haven't transitioned enough out of the energy that they were in, and they're tethered to this world. They can affect you, and they want to use your energy. They want to victimize you just like they did with people in real life. It happens. Now, the energy in the kitchen, I'll tell you, I did go back to Harriman area, and I was at a building behind the hospital, and I could feel that energy standing at the doorways just staring at me. And I turned around and I said, one day, buddy, one day you and I are going to meet face to face again, and you are not going to have the same effect on me. Get ready for it because I'm coming. So there was a belief that night that that was the cook that created that energy. I don't think he's now, after I have sat with him and I've learned a lot more since then. I don't know that he was actually the cook within the hospital. He might have worked in the kitchen, he might have been there for some reason. That energy may have been invited in on a later date, but I don't think he is the cook um, like we perceive that night. Um, he was a dark energy that had done very bad things when he was alive and attached to a body. Anyways, that being said, when my friend invited me to do this public investigation, I had to sit back and decide if I really wanted to go back to Harriman Hospital. And at first I was like, no, just, let me sit with it. I don't know that I want to go back, and I don't know that I want to do it at a public investigation. So I sat with it for a while. I talked to my spirit team, source creator, and they were like, yeah, it's time to go. Public investigation, it's you have a different energy when you're on a public investigation. I think it's time you go back, you stand up to this energy. And so that's what I'm going to be doing Friday night. And I do feel like it's going to be an interesting investigation, even if it is a public investigation with lots of different people, a lot of different energy. For me, it's going to be a healing, because I'm going to go stand up to a person, a spirit that tried to victimize me and tried to take my power away, and I'm not going to allow that to happen. And so I'm going to go, and he may not be there anymore. I do feel his energy, but he may not be there anymore. Maybe it's just remnants of his energy still there. I don't know, but we shall see. Stay tuned.